Hello everyone and welcome to this Moodle Academy webinar, What's New in Moodle 5, with me, Mary Cooch, Education Manager here at Moodle HQ, and I have with me Helen Foster, Community Engagement Advisor, also from Moodle HQ. And together we're going to be going through the new features and improvements in Moodle 5. So I'll start off by looking at the main features to do with a new course activities overview page, big changes in question banks and quiz, again, significant improvements to artificial intelligence, AI and Moodle, and then grade penalties. Helen will then cover other interesting improvements relating to languages, accessibility, TinyMCE and performance. And then we'll finish off by looking at other extra things for administrators and from the point of view of teachers and learners. And we'll pause every now and then and at the end for questions. So we have such a lot to discuss. Let's get started with the first feature, which is a new overview page for learners and teachers. And here we are from the point of view of a student. And when she goes to her course, in course navigation, she has a new link, Activities. And this is a page which lists all of the activities and resources in that course. And if she clicks to expand one, for example, assignments, she can see how many assignments with links to them, their due date, whether she's completed them or not and what she has to do, and what the submission status is. Now, a teacher also has the same link, the same page, slightly different function. So here is our teacher's page. And when he clicks to expand assignments, again, he has the link with the due date, but he can see how many students have submitted. So 3 out of 12 in the first one, and how many he still has to grade. And when he clicks the grade button, it will take him to the assignment, so he can then go and start grading. Things like URLs and pages and files, they appear in the resources section together there. Now, the next major new feature, and it is major, relates to question banks for quizzes. And there has been a lot of change there, which we'll look at with some screenshots, basically to do with question sharing or reusing across courses now. And also for individual quizzes, they have their own private question bank. And it's basically now easier for teachers in one course to take or reuse questions from other courses without the administrator needing to set up that quite complicated question sharer role. So here we're in a new Moodle 5 course that was made on a Moodle 5 site, okay? And what you notice when you go to, as a teacher, course, navigation, more, and you click on question banks in the plural, it says this course doesn't have any question banks yet. So you can create a default question bank for your course into which you can add questions that you can then use in quizzes in the course along with your colleague who might teach with you, but also you can use them in other courses where you're a teacher. So here we have a course, Resilience. This was made in Moodle 5, and it's the course question bank, which if you click the 3 dots, by the way, you can rename. You can also add add extra question banks for different purposes if you're a very organized person and you like to organize things. And the other thing that's important to realize is that if you're the kind of person or you're dealing with teachers who like to create a quiz first, from add an activity or resource, add a quiz, and then add questions, then those questions are in their own private quiz question bank, individual to each quiz. So here we see a section, Other Activities with Questions, and we have 2 quizzes, a formative and a summative quiz. And these quizzes contain questions which are only in that quiz and which can't be reused or shared elsewhere. Now, if you were wondering, well, what happens about courses that are already on the site? What happens to them when we upgrade to Moodle 5? everything works fine. It's just that you will notice that you will have in the section question banks from more question banks in this course, you'll have a shared question bank, and it will say this question bank was created automatically when the site was upgraded. So this mindful course creation course, this was made prior to Moodle 5. In fact, it was made for Moodle 4.0, and it has a shared question bank. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into one of the quizzes in our resilience course made in Moodle 5. Let's go into the summative quiz and see how this question sharing works. So if we click to go into the summative quiz, and as a teacher we look at the questions, we see there are already 2 questions there, and the teacher made these in the quiz. So they only live in the quiz, and he can't share them or move them anywhere else. But what he can do is from switch bank top right, he can then, for example, get some questions from the course shared question bank, which we saw before at the top of the page, or he can go to, for instance, his mindfulness course. Because we were there just a few slides ago, it's remembered that as recently viewed, so he can quickly go there to get a question. Or he could go to the drop down and search other question banks in other courses where he's a teacher. And this is very, very useful. So if he gets one from each of those, then we can see in his list of questions, question 1 and question 2, they don't have any pills, as we call them, these little blue labels, because they live in the quiz and they're private to that quiz. But question 3, he got from the resilience course shared question bank. And question 4, he went outside into his mindfulness course and brought that question in. So the teacher can always see where these questions come from. Now, it's not only question banks that have been improved in Moodle 5. Also, there are some new question bank filters. Question type, time modified, status, and searches of a question name, ID number, and what I particularly like, the question text and general feedback. So let's look at that. Here, we're filtering questions in the question bank, so you can see these new filters. And if I select question text and general feedback, I'd like to look for any questions which contain the word meditation. And all I need to do is I just type in that word, meditation, apply the filter, and then it will bring up for me any questions which have that word either in the text of the question or in the general feedback. So that is one of the new six new filters, which will be very useful. Moving on, artificial intelligence, AI, additions and enhancements. So we now have a new AI provider, Alarma. In Moodle 4.5, we had OpenAI and Azure. Now we have Alarma. Now you can also use the same provider to do specific tasks, which we'll look at the moment. And you can have settings per model, so model-specific settings. For the administrator, there are 2 new reports, AI usage and AI policy acceptance. And for learners, mainly, it's available to anyone, but will be most useful for learners, a new option, explain. As an administrator, if we go to create a new provider instance, you see that you can add Alarma, if you have it, alongside Azure and OpenAI. But what I also said is, if you're on that screen, create a new provider assistance, you'll see we've already got the OpenAI provider, but we could actually click and create another instance of OpenAI, and we can use this one for specific tasks. So for example, you could use a more efficient model for lightweight tasks like summarization. Here, we've disabled everything except summarizing text. And then you could maybe use a more fully featured model for generating text. Or you could default to a cheaper model with a lower token limit. We'll look at tokens in a moment. and then fall back to a more expensive model if the request is too large. So if we click Settings next to Summarize Text here, there are new settings to adjust each model's behavior. So for example, you can limit the length of a generated response by entering a value for max tokens. Now, tokens, more tokens, the higher the cost. So you can limit the number of tokens and therefore minimize your cost if you're spending money on subscribing to one of these paid for AI providers. Admins, as I said, have two new reports. AI policy acceptance, which is basically just a list of names and the dates when the users accepted the policy. And AI usage, as you can see here, which shows you the provider, it could be more than one, the action, and includes the tokens here, which may be useful if you're paying, and also the context and the person who used AI. In terms of people using AI, so there is a new option which will be particularly helpful to learners. And so now we're in a book, a tutorial about resilience as a student. And she has above each of the activities, for instance, at the top of this book, AI features. When she clicks AI features, she sees Summarize, which was the one that was available in Moodle 4.5. And then she sees Explain, which is a new option available in Moodle 5. And if she clicks Explain, assuming she's already agreed to the AI policy, over on the right, she will see an explanation of this text, hopefully for her to be able to understand it better. That's AI. So one more main feature, which we'll look at, then we'll have a little pause and move on to Helen. And that is grade penalties. This will be welcomed by quite a few people, I think. This is mainly an admin setting. So from administration, grades, you can, in fact, apply penalties for late submissions, and you can specify what kind of penalty you want. You'll see here, manage supported activities. If I click there, at the moment, the only activity that you can add penalties to is assignments. Hopefully there will be more later. So assignments are enabled. What the administrator can then do is specify rules for penalties, basically choose a percentage penalty depending on how late the assignment is. So here, for instance, if it's 6 hours or fewer or less late, it's 10% of their final grade. But if it's more than a day, it's 30%. And this can be seen in the gradebook, both for the teacher and for the student. So for the teacher's point of view, a teacher can actually enable it or decide not to use it. So it's important to realize that the admin can enable this, and the teacher can decide in assignment settings whether they want to use it or not. But the teacher cannot specify the percentage. The admin specifies the percentage for late submissions for all assignments throughout the site. So, for example, if we look into the gradebook here as the teacher, student Francis submitted 2 days, 6 hours late. She actually got 75% because it was quite a good submission. But if we look over on the right where it says final grade, the red triangle alerts us to the fact that she has that 30% penalty because she was over a day late, and she only actually has 45. The student Francis, she also sees this when she goes to look at her grades. So it has the red triangle and the alert 45. And helpfully, I think also in the feedback, the teacher has explained that she's been penalised for not submitting on time. Okay, so in a moment, we'll move over to other interesting improvements, but I'm just going to ask Helen if there are any comments or questions before we do so.
Thanks, Mary. Yes, we've already got a number of good questions in the chat, starting with questions about the question bank. Klaus is asking, how you can move or copy private questions to a shared question bank.
I think the answer at the moment is you can't. I remember in the Moodle.org forums, there's a very long and interesting discussion about that. And it was experimented and found, no, you can't. If it's questions in a quiz, they have to stay in the quiz. And I think the workaround is export them from the quiz and then import them into the shared question bank. That's my understanding at the moment.
I was thinking of that to do export and import, yes. But that's the only way at the moment. Eric replies, if it's impossible to move these questions from a private question bank, is there a way to look up in Moodle 4 point whatever how many questions we have that meet this criteria as an admin? Like for the admin to know before you upgrade how many questions?
I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know about reports and so on. So
that's quite a technical question. Yeah. I'm sure a good place would be to post on Moodle.org in the quiz forum for that one. Then moving on to the new AI features, Adam is asking, can the system instruction be multilingual? I was actually thinking that the instruction, I'm pretty sure it's a language string, so it's translated into different languages. But then if you want to edit it, maybe you'd have to edit it in different languages. Though we have a reply from Victor saying in our Moodle installation, we are using the Multilang 2 filter to be able to enter multi-language content and display just one. Mm-hmm. So Adam's asking a follow-up question, but maybe again that's probably better for the forums. It's not specifically a new 5.0 feature. Julian is asking about penalties. Is there a way to have more than one type of penalty, or do you have to have only one that's the same for the whole site?
It's as my understanding is, it's just you can have several different penalty rules, as you saw in that screenshot, depending on how late it is. But then I assume that they just apply to all of the assignments on the site. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. Anna is going back to course-specific question banks, saying, are the questions always linked from one question bank or can they be copied as well? I.e., can you update a question in the new quiz without changing it in the original question bank?
Well, I think if you have questions in a shared question bank in course A, and then you get them and put them into your course B, then if you change them, they're both changed. So if you change it in course B, it gets changed in course A and vice versa. I think the way to have them different is if you back up and restore quizzes, or then they're different. But normally, if it changes in one place and you've saved it, changes in the other because they're linked. That's my understanding.
So that's good if you notice a typo and you want to fix the question.
Yes. I do highly recommend that if you're interested in this kind of thing, that you join the quiz forum on Moodle.org, because there are some quiz fans there who started experimenting even before 5.0 and are continuing and are posting their findings and even creating some tracker issues related to it. And this is basically where I've been learning things. So if we can't answer your question, that would be a good place to go and look and ask as well.
Yeah. Anna's got a few questions, so we can leave some for the forum, but I'll just answer quickly the question. Can a teacher check where a particular question is used? When you're looking in the quiz questions, it shows where the question is from, which question bank it's from. But checking where a particular question is used. Can you think of anything, Mary?
No, not really. Maybe you can, I don't know.
Okay, Lynn is asking, is it possible to limit the AI summarize and explain functions to certain activity types? For example, quiz needs to be excluded. At the moment, it's not possible. If you enable these features, then they apply to all activities.
Indeed, and we noticed this in 4.5, and we're hoping that it will be able to. I think Alex has asked the same question. We're hoping that in a future version, you'll be able, as a teacher, to specify where you do want it and where you don't want it. But at the moment, it's all or nothing. Yogita is asking, what is the idea of having more than one question bank on the same course? Well, you don't have to at all. It's just, for instance, if you and your colleague, if you just want to keep your questions to yourself, bearing in mind you would still be able to use each other's questions, or if you want very rigid categorizations of questions, or there are some complex, and we don't want to go into here, but if you want to allow certain users to see certain question banks and not to see other question banks, you can add a question bank and change the permissions and the capabilities to do with that. So it's quite advanced, really. For me personally, I'm happy to just have one course shared question bank, but I understand there are reasons.
Okay, and thanks to Luigi for posting a link to the quiz forum for further questions. Let's move on, because we've got lots to get through in our presentation, and take a look at some other interesting improvements in 5.0. What we have here is improved support for multiple languages in custom menus, glossary auto-linking, and in course full names. We have some accessibility improvements relating to image alt text and a TinyMCE accessibility checker premium plugin. We also have some TinyMCE improvements in record RTC, insert media, and additional capabilities. And finally, we have some performance improvements in regrading final course grades and if you're using quizzes a lot. So first of all, improved support for multiple languages. So we now have filter support for custom menus where you can enter multi-language tags in the custom menu items field. Then if you're using glossary and the multi-lang content filter, you can make the concept and definition show in the user's language. And lastly, the course full name field length is increased to 1,333 characters, allowing you to enter multi-lang tags and the name in multiple languages. If you're wondering where the number 1,333 comes from, apparently, I just learned today, it's the maximum supported size in different databases. Then on to accessibility improvements. If you're using AI to generate images, then in 5.0, a detailed AI-generated description of the image is used as alt text rather than what we have in 4.5, where the prompt text is provided by the user. Then, as requested by the community and by Tiny, the Accessibility Checker Premium plugin is available in 5.0 as an alternative to the free Accessibility Checker. Lastly, in 5.0, the image alt text character limit is increased from 125 to 750 characters. This enables you to provide a more meaningful alt text for complex images. Then for TinyMCE, we have a new record RTC setting audio format. a number of user interface improvements when inserting media, and additional capabilities for restricting the use of TinyMCE plugins, which is useful for simplifying the editor toolbar and also for limiting the cost if you're using premium plugins, since you can restrict the plugins to teachers only. So looking at that new setting in the site administration, we have in the record RTC audio format, which enables you to change the default from OGG to the more universal format of MP3. Then in TinyMCE, you now have the option to drag and drop a media file, so you have the same interface as when you're inserting an image. Then after uploading a file, you can check how it displays and easily change various settings. When adding a video, you also have the option to add a custom thumbnail. Then moving on to performance improvements. If your site has large courses with lots of students and activities, you'll notice the performance improvement of asynchronous regrading of final course grades. Rather than having to wait a very long time for regrading before being able to do anything else in the course, teachers can keep on working while an ad hoc task handles the regrading. Then another performance improvement, if your site has lots of students taking quizzes at the same time, for example, for exams, then pre-creating quiz attempts is going to make a big improvement to your site's performance. So this feature is enabled by a site admin who has to select the time period before a quiz opens to pre-create the attempts. The site admin can also choose whether to lock the setting so it applies to all quizzes with an opening time, or let teachers choose for each quiz whether to pre-create these attempts. One thing to note is that the feature only applies to quizzes with an opening time set. And also, once attempts are pre-created, the quiz questions can no longer be edited. Okay, that's it from me. Should we go through any more questions or comments in the chat?
Okay. Well, Gregory's saying there's a usage field in the question bank, and it will. Oh, yes, that's right. And it will.
Yeah, thanks, Gregory.
We did know that. Forgot that. Thank you. And Anna is a bit concerned about the new question bank system causing some problems. Is that already upgraded to Moodle 5 then? Okay. I don't think. Alex is saying, is it possible in Moodle 5 to use Atto and plugins for Atto? And I think the answer is no. Atto has been removed.
There is a discussion currently in the forum on Moodle.org about Atto and Moodle 5.0, so maybe check that one out.
Yes. Okay. Are there any others, or shall we move on? We will have time. We should have quite a bit of time for questions and answers at the end of this third section of the presentation. So let's move on and let's look at what's more for administrators. Some screenshots, not all. Site administrators, this was requested and has been done and will be welcomed by some site administrators who can now log in as other site administrators. The Modica SMS Gateway plugin can now be used for multi-factor authentication, MFA, and very significant, particularly for themers, we're now using Bootstrap 5. Some screenshots to show the next few relating to custom reports, user tours, removed plugins, significant information about subsections, and then, as we always try to show you, new capabilities and removed capabilities in Moodle 5. So let's start with custom reports. So using report builder functionality from Workplace, LMS custom reports, you can now if you go as admin or manager, whoever can manage custom reports, if you go to custom reports and to the right of a report, the three dots action menu, you now have the option to duplicate the report, and then you can adapt it and customize it for a different purpose. So I think that will be welcomed. If you are a fan of user tours, and many people are, when setting up a tour now, you can, as an administrator, you can specify which categories and which courses the tour will display in, and which categories or which courses it won't display in. So you can have specific tours for specific categories and courses. And you may have already heard, and we were just talking about Atto a minute ago, chat and survey have now been removed from Moodle 5. There was warning, there were notices for a couple of versions beforehand, and my understanding is these will be available in the plugins directory. Atto has now gone completely. We don't know about Atto in the plugins directory, I'm feeling not. And CAS authentication, it was noted that it wasn't particularly used, it was hardly used, and it has been removed along with MNet plugins. MNet has been deprecated for many, many years and has finally gone. And support for Oracle database has also been removed. So that's what's removed, but something very important which is now there and enabled by default is subsections. So to explain, in Moodle 4.5, we introduced subsections whereby teachers could add a section within a section. They were disabled by default so that teachers didn't have such a shock, in the hope that it would be explained or trainers would explain it. In Moodle 4.5, if subsections are disabled by default, you won't see them in your course as a teacher. You'll just get the normal add an activity or resource button. However, in upgraded sites which are upgrading to Moodle 5, along with new Moodle 5 sites, subsections are enabled by default. And so a teacher going into a Moodle 5 course will see a plus, and then as well as activity or resource, they'll see subsection. So it might be worth bearing that in mind to explain to any teachers, or if you don't want it as an admin, to disable it. And then, as ever, new capabilities coming with Moodle 5. I'm not going to read them all out, but you will see as we skim through them that they relate to the new features. So grade penalty, several relating to AI, policy, usage, question bank, report builder. And there are many, as Helen already pointed out when discussing TinyMCE, there are many new capabilities for TinyMCE Premium so that admins can specify which roles can do and see some of these functionalities, see them in the toolbar and use them, and who can't, in order to save themselves money. And removed capabilities, logically, these are related to removed plugins and functions such as Atto, chat, survey, and some others which weren't actually used anyway. Okay. Finally, in our last section, we're going to look at what's more for teachers and learners. And these relate to if you use payment, if your courses are paid. Several improvements for assignments, both for teachers and for students getting notifications, and then H5P when playing in the mobile app. So looking at the screenshots for more details, if you use a payment gateway, then you can have different options for payment, but until now you haven't been able to actually give additional information or to explain what they are. So here our student is going to pay to join the feline welfare course, and she can clearly see that if she joins the top one, she'll get 3-month access, or if she joins in the bottom one, she'll get lifetime access. And these words have been entered by the teacher in the payment enrollment method, so they can customize the titles there. For teachers now, when grading assignments, there is a graded filter. So here our teacher is going to the status filter, and along with other statuses, he can now filter by graded. This has been a particular useful one for me. And talking about grading, so if you go into a big blue button activity in Moodle 5, you can specify grading at points, for example, and you'll then have in the grade book the option as a teacher to manually grade participants in a big blue button session. Perhaps you might want to grade them for their participation or for their questions or for their answers or so on. You have this option now, manual grading of big blue button activities. From the point of view of students, then, now when students get notified that their assignment has been submitted, they also see the list of files which they've submitted, as our student Barbara does here. And this is very helpful because it allows them to double check that they sent in the correct file or files and that they didn't send anything embarrassing. Equally, another improvement for students for assignment notifications, as well as being able to see which files they submitted, is that if the administrator has enabled it, they can also get notified of assignments by SMS or text. This SMS notification currently only works for assignments, but again, that's very useful. In fact, Barbara is so keen to get her assignment notifications. She has web, email, mobile, and SMS enabled. And finally, if as a teacher you use H5P and you embed it by going into the TinyMCE toolbar and clicking and adding it, for example, in a page or in a text and media area, formerly known as label, you can now opt for it to autoplay in the mobile app. And this is more user-friendly for people accessing your H5P using the mobile app. And believe it or not, that's everything that we've covered. We've tried to be as comprehensive as possible. We usually miss some things out, but we've done our best. And it's over to you now. Let's see if you have any questions or comments. Tell us what you like, what you're looking forward to, and so on.
Thanks, Mary. So in the chat, there has been some questions about things that have been removed from Moodle 5.0, in particular the CAS authentication, and whether it's going to be available in the plugins directory. And I was just looking in the tracker issue that covers removing it, and there's quite some discussion in there. The thing is, the decision to remove all of these plugins that have been removed in 5.0 was taken based on the statistics of how much plugins have been used, and then plugins that are not used in Moodle registered sites, that's when it's considered for removal. And often the plugins are not maintained very well and have got lots of bugs, or in the case of CAS, it's been difficult for HQ to test the plugin. It is available in GitHub repository, but in order to be added to the plugins directory, HQ is looking for someone to maintain it, or an organization to take over as maintainer. So if you want to carry on using CAS, then maybe you can consider volunteering as a maintainer. Otherwise, you can get it via the link in the tracker issue.
Yes, thanks for that, Helen. Luigi was commenting it's very useful for universities in France. I heard that as well. Maybe it might be, it might encourage a maintainer in France to opt to maintain the plugin so that we can have it. I notice Frank says, Vanda is saying that TinyMCE doesn't have possibility of changing colors, and Frank and Adam have opted to share links to colour changes for TinyMCE, although we always try not to use colours for accessibility reasons, but I do appreciate that in some cases it might be helpful to you. Oh, in fact, Luigi has also agreed. There are some plugins, but accessibility first. Yogita is saying, are categories still available in the question bank in a course? Yes, I believe so. Is there anything that people are particularly looking forward to if you're not upgraded to Moodle 5 or that you're interested in?
Katerina is asking another question bank question. When taking a backup of a quiz, is the whole question bank still copied? Do you know the answer to that one, Mary?
I don't think so. I'm sure you can opt to not back it up when backing up and restoring, but do not quote me on that. However, I would like to thank Diana, who's saying, will this training be available on Moodle Academy? Because I forgot to tell you, as soon as you leave the presentation on the hour, a course, What's New in Moodle 5, will open up where you can get a badge if you answer questions and you learn all about what's new for admins, and a second badge if you answer questions and you learn and read the materials what's new for teachers. So there are 2 badges available after you've watched this webinar in the actual course What's New in Moodle 5.0.
We have a question about improvements to MoodleNet and the possibility of installing it. Unfortunately, 5.0 doesn't come with any improvements to MoodleNet.
Yes, and MoodleNet is quite a separate thing. Mekonnen, we're not answering questions about anything that's not Moodle 5, but feel free to ask in the forums on moodle.org if you have a question about Moodle 5 or about the lesson activity.
Plans for LTI improvements. I know there's definitely plans for the future, so maybe take a look in the tracker or the forum on moodle.org for LTI. Diana is asking, how stable is Moodle 5.0? Well, it's been released now as a stable version. It's gone through a lot of testing with our volunteer QA testers, the full QA cycle, so it is considered stable now.
And thanks to Luigi for pointing out that the next long-term support version will be 5.3. So from now on, each long-term support version will always be the last point version in a major release, which is 0.3. So it will be 5.3.
Did you answer Louis' question about the certificate of attendance?
I believe there will be a certificate of attendance, yes. If there are no more questions, we might finish just by talking to you a couple of slides about Moodle Academy then. And please take the course and get your 2 badges. And if you have questions, as we said, please go to moodle.org and ask your questions there. So we would love you to help grow Moodle Academy by contributing to its development. You can do this by suggesting topic ideas in our Get Involved course. There's a link on the front page. You could even suggest to present a webinar and help us create courses yourself on Moodle Academy. And if you are a native speaker of a language other than English, please help us translate our courses into your language and make Moodle Academy more inclusive. We have a course which is called, believe it or not, Translate Moodle Academy, where you will learn how to use our content translation plugin. This course, What's New in Moodle 5, is already translated into 1 language, so it would be great if it could be translated into more. And please help spread the word by telling your friends and colleagues about Moodle Academy and about our qualifications. When you complete courses on Moodle Academy, you earn a badge, 2 badges in the case of this one. And if you are either an expert or a very experienced educator or a very experienced administrator, please take a look at our Moodle qualifications. We have a Moodle educator qualification and a Moodle administrator qualification, and we have quizzes. We call them a pre-placement quiz to check if you're ready to take these with a partner who will take you through the process of getting qualified as an educator or an administrator. And it would be great if some of you would do that. So it's goodbye and thank you from me, Mary Cooch.
And goodbye and thank you from me, Helen Foster.
Goodbye.